Okay, let's go.
I'm Joey Mortallero. I'm the head of content for the FLX. I'm here with Shane and Matt Driffel, the co-founders and the co-commissioners of the FLX Tour. Today we're going to discuss multiple talking points for the FLX Cup on Sunday. Shane, Matt, do you have anything you want to say to start out?
Well, first of all, he said the FLX Cup on Sunday. Now, we do wish it might be Sunday because of the weather. We're going to get into that. But the tournament actually takes place Saturday, October 14th, 9 a.m. at Shadow Lake.
And I was testing you, and I'm happy you were paying attention.
Gonna be some tough weather out there. Some people are saying an inch of rain, 40 degrees day to the start. So really gonna be a difficult time to play some golf. And I'm just curious, is it gonna make the better players more evened out? Or is it just gonna separate the field even more?
Right, absolutely. It's gonna make people dig deep, bring that dog out of them.
Yeah, definitely want to see who has that dog in them this week.
We're gonna see it. It's not a favorable time to play, but it's Rochester.
It's Rochester. And not to point any rainbows on the situation, because we're all wearing our raincoats and we know what the situation looks like on Saturday. But my old friend at News 8 WROC, Eric Snidel, said a low pressure system is a chance to drive south before the weekend. So that could eliminate the rain altogether, but until then, we're preparing for the worst.
Well, and we're definitely preparing to really look at who's going to win the last major. And I think we have our favorites. We have our featured group, that group of young men, top in Young Men of the Year points. That's Chris, a 5 handicap, Sean, a 7, Dan, a 16, and myself, a 15 handicap.
Yeah, and of course, that is the top 4 for Young Man of the Year. A lot of eyeballs in that grouping. But as we discussed with the weather, I think it's going to benefit the higher handicap players more. They have more room for error in a course that's going to demand the most with the conditions. So, and as much as we all expect guys like Sean and Chris to be atop of the leaderboard, as they usually are, I think this weekend in particular, I'm favoring some more of the mid to high handicappers because of that advantage I mentioned.
I agree. I definitely agree with you there. I think Uncle Chris, hello, came at me. I talked to him today. He said he has the most experience playing in the rain. So I think it's going to come down to who can stay warm and who's more prepared.
Every winter, New Year's Eve, I played at Craggy Bray. It was a nicer day, but I know.
Look at me, Louie. Look at me, Louie.
I know Sean Sawyer gets out there in the cold, but you know what? I agree. Those low handicaps, they got their work cut out for them. We've been in one singles tournament this year where our 32 handicap won.
Well, we could talk about sandbagging later, but to go back to Chris's point, I was there last Saturday when there was unfavorable weather conditions. He shot better in the rain on the front nine. When the sun broke and looked nice, he played worse. So he's, despite his low handicap, he's a guy you can't keep an eye on.
So we're going to talk about that, that middle tier, because those are the guys that have that dog in them. And I'm just going to say one stat we figured out from, seeing the handicaps. That last hole, 18, could have a lot of drama. It's an easy par 4.
Have a lot of drama that probably no one's going to be standing around.
Oh, absolutely.
Unfortunately.
But those low handicaps, those single digits, they're not getting strokes there on that easy 4. You see some guys come in and get a birdie there. That's a huge swing. And, I think that there's a lot of opportunities on this course for those kind of swings.
A lot of scoreable opportunities, but let's just get into it. Let's all pick 3 or 4 guys who we like real chance to win this week. And not just the favorites. I'm talking about dark horses, too.
Yeah,
and
dark horses.
Maybe I don't know nothing about horses, but maybe I know woof about some tour pros who might have that dog in them.
Who's got the dog?
No, my question after the Jenny Invitational, I said, which Tom D is going to show up at Shadow Lake this Saturday?
That's a great question.
Which Tom Deary is going to show up? Because, he was my pick to win several times over the year. It's his home turf. He's a 10 handicap. He's right in the middle, not quite as low as those, that top tier, but been right there all year.
And to say something about Tom, he will definitely be prepared. He's played in this type of weather. This is nothing new to Tom. He played in high school, flex. But I think Tom definitely is atop of the leaderboard as a favorite.
He said 80 and sunny,
it's his hometown course. He's got home field advantage all over it. Tom's certainly the guy I'm looking at as far as double-digit handicaps go. Tim Dorsheimer's another one. His game is rounded into form.
Yeah.
I also look for guys that are a little bit more blue-collar, a little more lunch pail, a little more clock in, clock out, do their job. I'm talking about Chuck Pace. Now, we saw an impressive runner-up finish at the Genesee Invitational of this young man, and only his second FLX Tour appearance to date. So I think he's a player to watch out for as far as breakthroughs might happen.
I agree with you there.
I want to piggyback. Tim Dorsheimer, our first singles.
Does he own a rain jacket?
Tim is always prepared. He's a camper. He lives in the mountains. We got Tim and Kiwi are right there in points and all year long. Great, their form is great. Joe, again, depending on what day you have, you're right there. Matt, you never know with that 18 points.
It's going to come down to who's prepared for the rain.
Well, you know, and I think that's a factor, but if you look at just strokes that you're getting on the handicaps, you got Matt with 18. If he shoots an 89, he could very well win.
You know what about Matt winning? I won it last year, so this is my cup, and I'm defending it to the day I die.
Take it in, enjoy it till it's gone.
Sorry.
Cheers.
Chuck Pace, 19 handicap. He's got that dog in him. I think he's ready to go.
Has Chuck played since the Jenny?
I'm not so sure about that.
Okay, then.
He likes that.
He might be one of these guys.
He might.
But let me tell you something. He's a nice young man.
Nice young man. My last dark horse I want to throw out there, which very well could be this. It just really all comes down to, it's Todd Horn's hand. Yeah, all right, and so on top of Joey, again, I don't know if this is a long hitter's course. I think it doesn't need to be a long course, but really it's about managing your dust.
Driver can definitely get you in trouble at this course, for sure.
Absolutely. Doesn't need to be a long day, really. And that's why we have some guys coming up here, which Matt has been hitting the long ball lately. Is he going to need that? Is he going to need that? And again, can he manage the course? Again, very doable. This last guy in this group, Tim Dorsheimer, really, again, perennial, just gritty guy.
Dog.
Has that dog in him. I mean, I talk about a guy who can manage the course.
Absolutely.
Like, manage mistakes, not let it penalize him all day.
And I just hope that his neighbor at a yard sale so he can get a rain jacket, because I know he's a big thrift guy.
I think he's always prepared, and I think he'll be prepared Saturday. Although, last week, he did drop out of the practice round because of rain and cold. Does that mean that he's not ready for these conditions?
And that is a very big concern that we need to talk about.
I think that it's going to have a huge effect. Spirits will not be that high making the turn.
I disagree. I disagree hard, not just because of Tim, but because of that whole 950 group. I'm looking top to bottom roster-wise. Tim, myself, Joe, Brandon, there's no way that group's going to have a low fun meter, and I think that's going to bring out the best in each and every one of us. And rumor has it, my companion here, my comrade, my compatriot, Joey Mortolero, he might be bringing a leaf blower. Who knows? That might be an advantage if you're missing grease. I know a lot of us do that.
I'm definitely thinking about bringing a leaf blower, and I am definitely bringing a leaf
might
blower.
be too wet from those leaves to blow. We'll see. And our last group, again, we already talked about these young men, top 4 of the year. And, just to say a note about the Young Man of the Year points, these 4 in this group have been top in points since 4 months ago at the end of the Grand Open.
Is that including you?
Yes.
Well,
yes, absolutely.
There's a little bit of a shakeup at the Churchville Classic where I vaulted to number 4. So I think you need to.
I just think it's
cool the jets a little bit.
I just think to be controversial, to shake the tree. Should we have 4 months change and still have the same 4 guys? I am in favor of honestly looking at how we justify gross points.
Sure. And one of the things,
we could talk about this at a later date.
Listen,
I'll be discussed over the winter.
Listen, the top 4 going off in the feature group are the young men that have been the top 4 in points since the Grand Open. So Chris Myers, Uncle Chris, Sean Sawyer, Dan Driffel, and myself. I'm gonna duke it out. Me and Dan might, throw blows at each other.
Chris and Sean together should be you're lucky you get to ride with that, be with that group and see what kind of shots are being done.
Exactly.
Especially in those conditions, you get to watch. It might even help your game watching how they play.
Yeah, but there's the other side of the coin as well. You talk about the conditions, weather externally, but there's also the pressure conditions internally. We're talking about the Final Four, the last final major of the year. And frankly, if you feel like you're trying to compete just against the people in your group, you may lose sight of the other people outside of it. So I just feel like that group with all the pressure on it is facing more than just the weather.
I'll be having beers before the first hole for sure. My nerves, I'm shaking already.
Right, so you're out.
No, I play better. Anyways, so bell ringers to watch. I just want to say again, Brandon, sneaky in singles tourneys. Nally, sneaky in on the come up. Breyer is real loose on there. I'm gonna actually bell ringers to watch. Guy hasn't played in a while. And Alex M. Dooley. I'm
just hoping he brings his cocktail mix.
And actually, I hope he shows because we have an over/under dropout odds, and we're looking at 5.5 players.
5.5.
Over under.
5.5.
What do you think?
Well,
Over under drop players.
That
dropped
would
out.
bring the field down to 22 on the under, 24 on the over. I think it's a great number for odds makers. I'm going to say under 5.5 on the dropouts. I think the pressure from being called maybe a name that's not so good to be repeated on camera or worse is going to be a motivating factor for people to show
and
up and
also
participate.
will they show loyalty?
Let's talk about loyalty.
Loyalty, right?
Let me just say
So, what do you think?
my opinion for the over. I'm gonna take the over. I think a lot of young men are gonna roll out of bed, take a look out the window, see some rain coming down, and say, you know what, this isn't for me today. This isn't for me because they don't have that dog in them.
Right, and they don't, you get a shot at glory, but there's next year. I think I'm hearing it in their heads. I mean, Dan Senior, he's an old man. It's cold out.
Back's gonna be hurting.
Todd, has a child at home with the weather.
Unbelievable.
Alex M. Dooley, Mike Converse, guys that haven't played. They love Shadow Lake.
Does Mike Converse own closed-toed shoes?
No, I don't think so.
He might be wearing his combat boots.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
well, then I'm actually kind of worried about him. then.
Jesse Kramer, Pancione, Evan Santiago, Danny Yacht. Could they have a late night that just says, "Hey, I wake up, I don't need this."
I could see Danny bailing not only from the rain but also from being stuck at Point Pleasant until 4 a.m.
Could be.
Absolutely.
And frankly, you know what? We could talk about reckless speculation about who shows up and who doesn't. But the reason I took the unders because the FLX Tour is about who can grind, who can wake up and do the deed. And I believe everybody in this field, and even though it's not participating in this tournament of the year, everybody's played all year long, has shown the heart, the grit, and the will to compete. And that's why I'm taking the under here.
I hope so, and I think that we're really the stage is set for a legendary major here. I mean, this is no sunshine and rainbows. This is the classic gritty gridiron where people are going to show if they have that dog in them.
You can't. 3 out of 4 majors, beautiful weather. It's Rochester, New York. Buck up, swallow your pride, and show up ready to play.
Absolutely.
It's going to be an actual dog fight. But I guess that's it for us here at FLX headquarters. See you soon.